Good evening. Sorry about that. I figured I would step outside and appreciate the moon up there, and well, not sure you can see many. Well, between, let's see here. Oh, there's one. That's probably the only star you can see right now. Because, well, the obvious. Came out and, you know, the sky was looking pretty freaking cool earlier, so I decided to come out and just kind of chill out here for a minute and get a couple cool little night shots, which I'll show on here. You know, towards the end or something, or at the end of this, you know, so you can see them. You know, doing a little bit of phototherapy type thing. Now I decided to step back out, and because the moon earlier was actually below the trees over here, so couldn't really see it, but it produced some really good lighting for the way the clouds were and all that stuff, and all that. You'll see. But no, I hope everybody, you know, because I haven't really posted up anything, obviously, for a while now. At least a few days or whatever. But I hope everybody had a good Christmas, and, you know, at least, you know, if they didn't get everything they want, I hope that at least they got to enjoy what they got, and it's things they need. Maybe even things they wanted too, but no, I spent my time down here because really couldn't afford to go make the trip to go see family. So, and I don't know anybody else down here but one person, and so even though that person really hurt me pretty bad, they seemed like they were the only ones really interested in, like, wanting me around. But obviously it just feels like it's just, let's see how much we can kind of just, yeah. I don't want to get into it because I'm done with a lot of shit. You know, I really genuinely appreciate them for what they did for the holiday and all that, because I wouldn't have had anybody. I would have been sitting here alone the whole time, and it just would have been like when I was a kid. Family be at the beach or at the mountain or with other family. I'd be sitting at home alone with the animals. And it's not like they could make the trip down here. It's quite the trip. But that's what it felt like. And then that day, it was like nobody called, nobody messaged. Nobody. I basically, yeah, I called my folks, make sure that they were, you know, enjoying their Christmas at my brother's and stuff, and wish them a Merry Christmas and all that. Misha. Come on, Momo. Mr. Bear's got his little hoodie on. Yeah, I cleaned up my got my porch cleaned up. I got help, you know, I'm the same person. It has bothered me though that the person that hurt me the most, and hurt me pretty fucking badly, and I don't think they really get it, and it hasn't sunk in for them, because I don't really think they give a shit. You know, if they were in my shoes, they would fully understand. Because Lord knows, I don't know how many times I've, you know, over the last, you know, even the last couple months alone, have tried to, you know, kind of, not necessarily in the literal sense of putting them in my shoes, but getting them to imagine themselves in my shoes. And yeah, it bothers them a lot, but it's okay for them to keep doing what they're doing. And so it's like, I'm not dealing with these cycles. I'm not dealing with this shit. You know, it's, yeah. I don't hate them. I'm just done. And I've been done. I just... You know, my brother Ed, he ended up calling earlier today. I wasn't expecting it. I was getting this number I don't even have on my phone. Normally, I don't even pick up the phone. I normally ignore it. If I don't know the number, I don't pick it up. But because it was, well, not necessarily local, because there's like, when it comes to landlines, as far as I know, there's like 2 different area codes. But then when you go into like cell phones and stuff, then there's like 4. And I only know about 3. But, no, he called and it was, you know, I wasn't going to answer the phone. But we were in the middle of Wally World and all that before I had come home because I, you know, was out with them. And then stopped at Wally World so I can grab some stuff to make dinner and all that at least. And then they can do their laundry here and all that for free. I'm tired of feeling like it's tired of feeling like I'm supposed to feel like I'm being rewarded to be around certain people, and it's like, that's not a reward in that sense, you know, and there's just a lot of things. So I'm just kind of between building Legos and doing a bit of the bit of the phototherapy here and there wherever I can, and just started stimming on my games again and just reading random shit online and all that, just trying to refocus my brain a bit so I don't go falling back into that crap. You know, I genuinely love that person a lot, but my narc is my narc. I know they watch this, whether they like hearing that or not, they know they are my narc. And they know what they're doing. They know damn well what they're doing. They can't request people, you know, talk about two-way streets when they're not really making a ton of effort, that type of stuff. So it's like, I'm not going to go back into that. I can't deal with that type of shit, you know, where it's like, sure, you got the energy to go out and have fun with your friends, but whenever I'm around, you just lay in your fucking PJs the whole time, talking about having headaches and all this other stuff. But it's like, it's just how it was here, and then it's like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I just can't. I don't, like I said, I don't hate them. I'm just tired of the shit. You know, they tried, you know, they hinted multiple times of me staying here in Oregon, and even earlier today about me keeping the house, going, well, you know, you could do this with the house. And it's like, I ain't doing shit with the house. I've been here for I've had the house for how long? And because nobody would fucking help, where I really needed the help, meaning the person who was living with me that whole time for free, would not help. She spent more time getting in other people's beds and getting attention from other men and other people. I couldn't get really shit done. I got a lot of stuff done, but I really couldn't get. There was things that I could not get done without the right help. And it's like, to say that, it's like, really, I've had this house since 2019, and you're gonna go, oh, but I can do that now. When? How? Because we've had all this time where, you know, yeah, complaining still broke type thing at one point. And it's like, well, you know, if you'd actually split the bills, you know, when living here, we wouldn't have had so much of a problem. We both wouldn't have been broke the entire fucking time. Things might have been getting done in that sense. They weren't worrying about other people and living a double life and cheating. We wouldn't be in this mess. So it's like, I'm trying not to get angry. It's just, I'm still processing a lot of shit. And it's like, how does this make sense? It's on my plate to make that excessive effort, and it's like, I'm not going to. How many days do I sit there like I did here when they lived here and we were together, that they would just lay there in their fucking PJs all the time if they're not at work or out with their friends or cheating on me? And then they wonder why that their health isn't doing the greatest, why they're becoming diabetic, why they're having all these issues. And it's like, Because all you do is you fucking lay in bed and you basically blame me for why you do this shit. Or you have some sort of illness and it's like it's becoming a hypochondriac type thing. And it's like, you know, all of this could be undone the same way as where my mom was concerned with a lot of shit. If you just got off your butt and got active and not just be active for your fucking friends or whatever man you want to get attention from. And just actually, like, be a part of the person's life that you said you wanted to be a part of, and then until you fucking did what you did. And then you can't understand why they don't want to fucking commit to you to that level because you're not doing it yourself. I'm not committing myself to somebody who won't make the equal amount of effort. So getting back to my buddy Ed, because I got myself sidetracked there, and I'm just, yeah. A lot of this shit's going through my head, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? But, no, I guess they're still dealing with, you know, a home issue, you know, trying to get in a home and all that stuff. They're still, I guess, waiting on their house to sell or whatever the hell's going on. But he had a second child and all that stuff. They're having some struggles too, and it's one of those things. It's like if I could help them out, I would. I'm not in a situation where I can help really anybody out right now. And it's like I'll be there for different ones when I can, if I can, type thing. And where in the past, it's like somebody would, it didn't matter who it was, give me a call. I didn't care if you were, you know, 2 hours away. I'd try to be there in 20 minutes. You know, I didn't care how much money or gas it cost me. I had a friend of mine, which was strange, because she brought it up later. Like, I don't know, it was like a year later, something like that. But it was around the first time that basically all my friends just vanished on me. Everybody just vanished on me. And that was when I was living up in Clackamas. And I was surrounded by a bunch of strangers. Like, everybody I was surrounded by was people I really didn't know. You know, I'd only known at that time, for maybe a couple months. A couple of those people, they were freaking awesome. Like, my old roommate Derek, he was actually a good kid. It's just got mixed up with the wrong people type thing. Same thing with some of the others. But there was, you know, one of my other roommates, Steve-O, basically after I don't know if you want to say hit his rock bottom or whatever, but he went through his phase and all with dope and everything like that, and then cleaned up and, you know, regained his faith in God, got married, and has a family, and I spoke with him, he's doing really fucking awesome. But there was a moment there, I had like 10, 12 people trying to move into my apartment, and having trouble trying to speak up. You know, I didn't have anybody I could, like, really say, hey, like, I need help getting these people out. And finally, I mean, just one day, I just kind of like, it was around that time I had ran into my brother Jess, and my brother Jess heard what was going on. He's like, oh no, we're not doing this. And he shows up at my apartment, basically just takes everybody the fuck out, except for the two roommates that I had at the time. And my two roommates, Derek and Steve-O. I turned around, booted everyone out, and turned around and looks at my two roommates, and he's like, you move in people like that again? I don't care what you guys can and can't do, but it's not going to be good. It's like, don't be taking advantage of my brother like that again, type thing. And so, you know, and I was really actually thankful for that, and I had been there for several months, 6-7 months like that, dealing with that, and it had been like close to a year, so that basically all my friends had vanished. My brother at the time, I had stopped talking to him for a bit there, because he was doing the dope shit too, and I couldn't be there to watch him kill himself with that shit. So when I ran into him again, that was around the time I had ran into him again. He had cleaned up and was doing really good for himself. But no, my old friend Courtney it was a weird situation that night, and I don't even bring that up. This was right around the time I was still reading tarot myself. and then quit because I knew when I did my brother's reading that I should not have done that reading, and I quit doing that reading, and it bothers me knowing that I was pretty fucking accurate with it. So that's why I'm afraid of picking them up. You know, and I might pick them up every now and then, here and there, but I tend to watch, you know, some of the readers on YouTube, very, very specific ones, and I pay attention to it, and I'll read their cards and not just listen to what they're saying. And most of the time, it doesn't pertain to me, you know, that type of stuff, but I still enjoy listening to it and reading it at times there. But aside from that, I had sat there for the hell of it because my roommate Derek, because my other roommate Steve-O had moved out at that point, so it was just my roommate Derek and I, which was pretty cool. He was a tattoo student, and so he did the original art on my back before, yeah, I let somebody, you know, touch it up and basically add to it, kind of finish it. And I have my brother's ashes in my back. I had that artist tattoo my brother's ashes into my back. So my brother's always got my back. But I had just got done doing the reading and all, because my roommate was just curious. He's like, let's just do a general. I want to see what happens. You know, let's see what's going to happen type thing. And so when I did it, see, I do read it by the images like most others, but I don't always understand the symbology with the images. It's like reading it like I would a movie, like I'm watching a movie or a TV show. Like there's things that I could pick, like if I was reading for me, I'd be able to associate it easier with who's who. Where if it's someone else, I couldn't tell you who's who. I'd somewhat identify the person type thing. Was it accurate all the time? No. But, you know, somebody like that, and if you do the wrong reading, in essence, whether for the right or wrong person, and you end up being really, really accurate, it can definitely scare you out of wanting to do it. But, no, I was doing that night. When I did the reading, we thought it would be fun. Sitting there, you know. My roommate had a taste for the dope as well. And I had went clean already. And so I ended up helping him clean his shit up. But not the same way I went about it. The way I cleaned up, very few people I tell that to, because I don't want anybody else to do that. It's not how you do it. But, excuse me. But, I got him into that stuff. To, you know, anytime he started to get that urge, he's like, no, let's do this. I think that entire time there that he lived there, when he lived there, I think that dude maybe ate like a couple dozen times out of like maybe the 9 months that he lived there with. Because I had originally ended up living there alone for like 3 or 4 months. My old buddy Jojo was supposed to move in. I ended up paying his probation fees. Because he was telling me that's what... He was telling me that's what, you know, that's the only reason why he was still on probation, is he's on it until he pays off his fees. And then he would, you know, then he could go through the process of being released off of it. So, and in order for him to move out to where I was, because it wasn't in the same county, even though actually it was, it wasn't in the same town type thing, or something, whatever it was. I want to say the same county, and he was thinking it was in Washington or Multnomah County or whatever. Washington County. No, we were in Clackamas. And So he still, you know, had supposedly talked to his pro officer and all that shit, and got it all cleared. Showed me this fucking printout, you know, that he got from his, you know, type thing, and explained to me this is all he's got to do is pay it off, and then that type of shit. So I ended up giving this dude around $2,500 to help him out, to pay off his fucking pro fees. The court fees and probation fees, whatever it is. His restitution, whatever the fuck it was that he had to pay for to get off probation. At least that's what I understood. Yep. Paid for him to get off that, and then next thing you know, I don't hear from the dude comes out, visits a few times on, and then I don't hear from him for like months, and then I'm finding out he's in jail for, but basically he was in jail for probation violation, and it had to do with the fact that I paid for his probation fees. I willingly helped him out, and they thought he had basically manipulated me out of the money, which, looking back, I'm, and then everything that's gone on, I'm not surprised. And knowing that I'm on Spectrum and all that stuff, now learning now, I now understand why it was so easy for people to take advantage of me. But anyways, that night when I did that reading, I shit you not, I had just put the card down, and as I started reading, I recognized who was being described, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. And I continued, because I was like, I part of me was doubting, but then I was like, there's a knock at the door. I mean, I'm not, I shit you not. Because as I looked at my roommate and all, I looked at him, I was like, I know who this is. I was like, you remember my friend Courtney? And he's like, yeah. I was like, this is who this is describing, but I was like, she's all out in Newburgh last I knew. And I was like, no, I don't know why now. And all of a sudden there's a knock at the door, and I'm like, okay. Derek gets up and goes and gets the door and opens the door, and she's standing at the door, and I turn around and I was like, what the fuck? That tripped me out. That wasn't the reading that caused me to stop reading. It was the reading I did for my brother. But that tripped me out like immediately, and I got up, and instead of going to the door, I went the other fucking way. And I was like, no, this isn't real. I went the other direction. I literally went the other direction. I could not believe it. I was like, no fucking way. And when she came in, she sat there and she's like, you know, doing a little catch up, like, how things going, doing all right. And I kind of told her what all had been going on. I actually broke down, though, before that point, because she's like, what's going on? I started breaking down. I was like, no fucking way. No fucking way. Like, I was tripping hard. And she's like, you're all right? I was like, I was like, you have no idea what I was like, no. Like, that was like, no way. And so, you know, of course, after a few minutes, calmed down and all that, and God, I can still remember that like whole thing. Like, I'm sitting there right now, like, in essence in my head, I can remember it in quite the detail. But she sat there and she looked at me. She's like, after we started catching up and all that, she goes, you know, she's like, I was sitting at home the other day, and she goes, I was thinking about that car accident I got into. She goes, remember that car accident I got into where that guy was chasing me down your guys' road? It's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I remember that. And I know what guys she's talking about, because that same guy would do the same, had done the same to me, had done the same to my folks and some other people in the neighborhood. So I don't know. It was just some drunk son of a bitch that was just an asshole. But he ran her off the road. She went into a tree. where I was living at the time, from where that happened, that was on the road that my folks lived on. And my brother Mikey was living on that road too. He just lived like 2 houses down and across the street. Like 2-3 houses down across the street type thing. That was his girlfriend. I was friends with both of them. I became friends with, like, of all things, like, a few of his girlfriends, and it was friendships. People seem to think in their head that because I'm male, or a guy, or it just in general that because you're male and the other person's female or vice versa, it's impossible for the people to be friends unless one's gay or something. No, it's very possible. And it's like this. If you're with somebody and you actually love them, then you don't have eyes for anybody else. You can look at other people and be like, yeah, they're attractive, but there's nothing tingly or anything like that about it because I'm in love with somebody else at home. Or in the reversal, they're with someone, whether it's your best friend or somebody else, doesn't matter. They could be someone you don't even know who the fuck they are. That's where, like, my sister Kristen comes in. You know, we were pretty close when we were younger and we were good friends, but I think I only knew, like, maybe one of her boyfriends. But, and those lines were never crossed, you know, and I've got several female friends that way. And it's because I respect boundaries. Even if they don't have boundaries, I'll respect those boundaries. When it comes down to it, I won't cross those boundaries, and if somebody's with somebody, I don't want to see them going out and cheating on somebody that they're with. It's like, if you're with somebody and all, then you need to end it before you go deciding to go cross that line and go cheat to be with someone else. And the way I feel about that, yeah, people are stupid when they're teenagers. I made that stupid choice as a teenager once, and I never did it again. I had to learn from that. I let karma, I didn't necessarily but I had to let karma kind of teach me that lesson. But anyways, getting back to what I was talking about. It's like, so where she had gotten in the accident, it was, I shit you not, maybe 3/4 of a mile just down the road past my brother Mikey's place. Her own boyfriend. And I was maybe 15, 20 miles out. Something like that. And I get this phone call, and I'm like, yeah, I get a phone call from her. She's like, yeah, I just got in an accident. I was like, all right, I'll be there. There was just no question. It was like, I'm there. I'm on my way. I'm like 20-something miles away. And I got there before my best friend and her own boyfriend got there. And that kind of made me feel like shit a little bit. And I didn't even really think about it. I was more concerned about the fact whether or not she was okay. And of course, when I got there, I was like, where's Mike? And so she had brought that up. And she's like, I just want you to know that kind of, I didn't think about it then, but I appreciate your friendship. The fact that you dropped everything and drove your ass out there without a thought to make sure I was okay when my own boyfriend, who was not even a mile away, couldn't even get there in that amount of time. It's like, that's how I am for my friends. It's how I am for people I care about. If I love you, it doesn't mean it has to be an intimate love. It's like, if I love you, I'm going to love you like my family, my brother, my sister. I'm not necessarily going to love you like my mom or dad type thing. I do have my moms, as in, not just my real mom. I have some, adoptive moms that I've got, from over the years, because I've been friends with them long enough that they're like a mom to me. And, my mom understands that. She knows what that's about. But, and I love them just the same like that. But I'm not going to look at someone my age or younger. But, hey, Mom. No, and I love somebody. I genuinely love people. And it's like I'll do anything for people, but I also know when it comes to a point, I have my limits. And it's like if I can't, if I'm not in a position where I can just, like here, I can't just drop what I'm doing, hop in the truck and drive 300 miles to, in 10 minutes to be there, but I'll sure as shit try. Yeah, with everything that's gone on over the last few years, I've kind of come to realize I can't really keep giving myself to people that just keep taking. I hadn't seen that friend of mine in years. Like years. It's been almost 20 years, I want to say, since I've seen that friend. And then, of course, like as I was saying with my buddy Ed and all that, him calling all that, it just kind of, he was the first person to call after Christmas or anything like that, to call and see how I was doing out of any of my friends, out of anybody I've known. My buddy Nate, I'll redact that. My brother Nate, he messages me generally on a daily. Right now, I guess him and his mom and them have been really sick and all that, and they're battling a bug. So, but generally, we'll chit chat each day, and all that's my brother. And I've got a couple others that will message me from time to time. But when it came down to it, that was the only friend that actually called me up, like, "Hey, how you doing? You doing all right? Hadn't heard from you in a while. Hadn't talked for a while. Hadn't seen you for a while. What's going on?" So I was pretty thankful about that phone call, to a degree. It was kind of nice that at least somebody out there gave a shit. And the only reason why I realistically just kind of stopped talking to him was because of where my kids were concerned. And that whole bullshit. It's like, no, you're not doing that. You're not, no. I've got different ones that are really trying to get, that do want me to stay in Oregon. And it's like, as much as I love the different ones, yeah, it's not happening. I made my decision at this point. As soon as this place is, sold, I'm gonna make like a tree and leave. And be gone with the wind type thing, because I've been shown by too many people, I've been shown by too many people that I'm a convenience friend, and I just, it's like I'm just there to fill a spot, and I don't like that feeling. But, I've just been still processing a lot of shit and all that. And some of these things that are going on, it's like, how do you get people to understand that you can only go through so much crap, be treated like a secondhand tool, that somebody just fucking, throws in the storage to be forgotten about and replaced by something else, only to be taken out when that something else isn't there anymore. And then you get tossed back in there again when something better comes along again. And it's like, this cycle is not, And I'm really tired of it. And so it's like, as much as I love these different ones, and this includes my narc, as much as I do love her, I'm not gonna be treated this way anymore. And that's why I made it very clear to even her. I was like, when the house is sold, I'm gone. Everybody over the last few years since getting this place especially has showed me what I am to them, and I don't feel that I need to make that extra step to stick around and expect a different treatment. When I'm seeing the different ones still act the same way. And it's like, no. Selling my home is going to give me at least the opportunity to not only be able to get a nicer home somewhere else, so I don't have to do all this fucked up shit, you know, not necessarily fucked up shit, but do all these fucking repairs that right now, especially around, I can't even really afford, and don't really have the physical means to be able to keep doing anymore. It's like, I would rather use what's left of my time and my health to focus on basically maintaining a home, not just having to repair and maintain and update and do all this other shit. Just to find a home that's nice, that I can actually live in. Yeah, I'll have my movie room. That'll be cluttered, full of movies. You know, not necessarily cluttered, but it'd definitely be full of fucking movies. But other than that, for most part, I pretty much live a fairly minimal life. I'm more happy being able to not just be able to enjoy movies in the evening, but I enjoy being able to be out and about, and I enjoy doing stuff. And I don't care if I don't care if it costs money or not. I do, in the sense of, is it affordable? Otherwise, I enjoy being able to just going for walks. I enjoy going to parks. I enjoy going and doing, like the phototherapy, stuff like that, because that has been helping on not just being able to refocus. It's been helping me in the process of, how I process things, in the process of processing things. And so, and just sort of how I'm kind of coping with it all. And so I'm just in a big degree, it's like I'm ready to say goodbye. I'm in that situation where it's like, I can't take everybody with me, but whether I go alone or not, that's really not up to me. That's that type of situation, because I'm not in a place where I want to be chasing people or chasing any type of relationship, whether it's a friendship or a relationship or anything like that. No. I'm trying to get my life back together where I should have been, and I've been put in a position of having to restart, like damn near completely. And to deal with others that still kind of expect that I have to keep catering to their needs, and it's like, well, they just half-ass. It's like, no, I can't do this anymore, and I'm not going to. I think I've made it clear many times. And with this home selling and being able to get a better, nicer home, being able to, basically reinvest it into not just a nicer home, but something, outside of not just being able to just pretty much do upkeep. And if there's repairs, it can be way, less than this. Oh, I got to replace some carpet and do some paint. Okay, that's fine. Or that type of thing. But to have the land so I can be able to do what I want to do there, be able to invest some of it into building the generator that I want to build, which, if you don't know anything about that or anything, or haven't seen that, you can go on my other channel, and because there's a generator I really want to build, and I know it's gonna work. Excuse me, I'm in that situation where it's like I need to find the people that. This sounds stupid, because that's what makes me feel uncomfortable about asking. I don't even I don't even have food stamps. I don't like actually really going and asking for help and all that type of stuff is really hard for me. And when I do, it actually pisses me off with myself. But it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I can build like, say, a scale model one that works for like $1,000, but to build a full scale situation, though, there would be changes to that design, and it's like I would need an investor, and I would need basically an engineer, a builder, somebody that can take that vision that's on paper, basically, or in that situation, dry erase board, and bring it to life. And something that I learned when I met with the Oregon inventors, I can't remember, it was the Oregon Inventors Society or something like that. But I had met with like the director guy, which was really cool. And he explained to me the way a lot of things, you know, get off the ground is you have a person with the vision, a person with the money, and the person who could build it. And he kind of explained, he's like, that's kind of how, you know, Apple did so well. You had the man with the vision and able to talk, which was Steve Jobs. I love that guy. But then you had Steve Wozniak, who is the primary builder. And then you had, oh God, I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. I want to say, well, their original investor. And I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but if it wasn't for basically those three parts, Apple wouldn't have gotten where it's at, or where it got to, and so forth. Doesn't mean I'm going to I want to create another Apple company. That'd be great, just in a different format. Instead of with computers and electronics, it's more or less alternative energy. It's just, yeah. But the other aspect too with selling my home is not just on that type of stuff of being able to get another home with the property and all that stuff. Be able to, you know, work on one invention and maybe you know, carry on with a couple hobby type things, but also you know, be able to start a small business to get my own thing going, because it's just, yeah, I'm willing to go work for somebody while I get my business off the ground, because, yeah. No, I'm on the verge of losing my disability. They don't feel that Asperger's, ASD, or NF2 is serious enough, you know, for it, even though I worked my ass off for it. And so I'm looking at losing that probably in February, which I've already got to that point that my home sells and I go to start my own business and all. I was already planning to cut it, because I want to be able to do more with my life, and I'm feeling restricted from that. I'm feeling restricted because of those around me that have these other expectations for me, and I don't feel that they really have my best interests in mind and in the long run, because I feel like it's just what they want. And so it's like I need to start my life. I need to get back to where I was and get past that, you know, because I was doing pretty well even after my wife left and all that, and I went through my divorce and all. I mean, I was still doing all right. I was starting to do better. Even though I went back to school, I worked my ass off and even was paying out of pocket for a year there to get my grants back, because my first couple semesters, you know, I was not only dealing with just being freshly out of a hospital, you know, because I was in some sort of weird fucking coma. Like, I don't know how to explain it to people. But then, plus dealing with shit with kidneys, all that shit, yeah. And then dealing with my wife had just left, and then trying to be a dad, trying to go to school, all this shit. And so the first, like, 2 semesters, I was slipping. I was barely getting, you know, C's in there. And so I ended up spending the next year and a half. Well, I spent 2 more semesters building up my GPA, and then as soon as I got to that, they're going, no, it's now has to be this. They changed the requirement. So then at that point, I lost my grants and was having to pay out of pocket. So I paid out of pocket for like the next fucking year after that. Got that GPA situation dealt with. Come back. Okay, can I get my grants now? No, you can't. What? Well, because the requirements changed here. I'm going. So I showed them the emails that they sent me. I was like, so every time you send me these emails and I make the requirements, you change the requirements to the point that I haven't been able to go back to school, and I've been paying out of pocket the whole fucking time. And then even when I paid what I owed to the school and everything like that, you guys are still retaining my shit to where if I want to go to school somewhere else, I have to start completely over. They have like an 80-something% student maintain rate or something like that, where students can't go to school anywhere else. They have to keep going there, or they can't get their transcripts out. And so I ended up going I got offered a job at a dispensary, between knowledge and just being able to talk to people and all that stuff. And I just was like, okay, and it was great, because I mean, the owners are fucking awesome. That's still my favorite boss to this day. And I love my old bosses from Gnome Grown, but the one from Little Amsterdam, that was my favorite employer. It was just the bullshit and the politics that was coming about that really made things difficult. And it was mainly due to coworkers, customers, and just I didn't fit into that world. In that sense, when the politics started invading the cannabis industry in Oregon. But God, I loved that job. I was able to pay my rent just off of my tips and still had extra in tips. I used to have fun sending them in with my tips to go deposit it to pay for rent, and I'd give them like like $675 in $1 bills. It was like a shoebox, and she looked like a stripper going in there with all these $1 bills. They thought she was some sort of stripper, and they're like, can you exchange this for like smaller, like for bigger bills, before depositing? It's like, you guys are a bank. But no, I actually enjoyed all that. So it's like I'm already planning on, once the home sells, to start to really push myself to get back on my feet. It's just like with my smoking and everything like that, I'm in this not just mindset. At this point, I'm pushing myself not just between mindset and because of my health and all that I'm hoping to quit by my birthday. I want to start here, unlike everybody else going, I'm going to quit New Year's. No, that's when I'm going to start working on this shit. That's Monday. Monday. I need to try. Or at least get to a point where I'm just not smoking as much. I really got to do my best to quit by that's really my goal, is to quit by my birthday. It's like, if I'm going to put extra effort in, where other people are concerned, then I need to see that sort of reciprocated to a degree. And it's like, let's put it this way. If you're the friend that's always the one that's having to go see your friends in order for them to hang out, you're the one who's having to make all that effort, it's not just, the messages and all that stuff, or talking on the phone, that type of thing, where it's just, you're the primary one making the contact. You're the primary one making the effort to go see them. Or you're you know, whether you're dating someone or in a serious relationship and you're the one who's doing the effort to go be with them, to go spend time with them, but they can barely spend a few hours with you at your place or anything like that. That's called a one-way street relationship, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship, anything like that. And that's gonna fucking drain you in multiple ways, because whether you're dealing with a genuine narcissist or you're dealing with somebody who has narcissistic traits, because that's two different people, they're gonna drain the piss out of you. And you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna start having animosities towards these people. And you're gonna have your inner conflicts of going, I love these people, they're my friends, or that's my girlfriend, or that's my boyfriend, that's my wife, that's my husband, whatever the situation is. But you're gonna start eventually going, why is it that I'm always the one that's really kind of going out of my way for that relationship with that, to be around that person, to have that relationship, and they always have a reason to either leave as quickly as possible. They always have an excuse of why they can't make the effort, basically. It's just to keep it short, so I'm trying not to ramble too much on it. You have to get to a point of going, you know, I love you, you're my friend, you're this, you're that, whatever, but I can't do this anymore. Because the more effort I'm putting into this, it's taking away from things that realistically I need to do. And in a sense, if you can't be my ride or die type thing, you know, I can't do this with you anymore. I'm not here to compete, you know. And when it comes to friendships, especially when you get older and your friends are married, they have families, those are factors you can factor in and go, well, you know, they've got a life. Yet still, even in those friendships, and we see them all over the place, you see plenty of married folks with their kids and their families being able to be friends with other couples or even other singles and all that, groups of people, hang out, have their barbecues, have their dinners, maybe go meet up, go camp out somewhere, go hit a lake somewhere, that type of shit. The general shit that you normally see. But when the only way you can hang out with them is when you're the one having to go there all the time, that's not a friend. And if they are, they're not the kind of friend that you really, really need, especially when they're taking you away from the things that you should be doing. Your responsibilities, your obligations. Because if you're not an obligation or anything like that to them in any way, shape, or form, even as a friend, then you shouldn't be doing that in their situation, making them an obligation, making them a priority of any form. You know, we all, you know, friendships as you get older change. I mean, when you're young, it's not like, you know, in high school, you got all this time to worry about friends and your girlfriend and being stupid. And then you get into college and you're starting to become more independent, more responsible, all this stuff than you were in high school. But you still got those high school tendencies and you're still being somewhat stupid, but then you're becoming more knowledgeable because, you know, you're getting educated and you're getting real life experience and real life education. And so your views start to slowly change a little bit. Yet at the same time, you start understanding that it's like, you know, I really want to go hang out with you, dude, but, you know, I'm really serious about this girl. Or if you're, you know, a female or whatever, I'm really serious about this dude. You know, I love you. Our friendship means a lot, but it's like this person, like, this is who I want to spend the rest of my life with. So it's like, do you keep putting that person you want to spend the rest of your life with on the back burner so you can keep go hanging out like a fucking high school kid? No. Most mature, responsible people are like, no, there's limitations. You know, there's certain limitations with friendships. Like, we have our own lives and our own families, all that shit. And as you get older, you start to understand that. And then, of course, when you get to around retirement age and all that stuff, you start in your empty nesting. I'll just put it that way. When you get to about to the point where you're empty nesting, then you get to sort of get to live like an old high school kid. You still have your responsibility. You still got to pay for your bills, that type of shit. But you don't have the excess of responsibilities necessarily raising kids. I mean, I kind of had the it sounds a little crazy, but at the, you know, where I'm watching a lot of my friends at my age, they're still having kids, or their kids are, you know, just getting into high school. I got a grandchild already. You know, I'm in a position, I'm lucky enough that if my kids actually, if the shit had not gone on between my kids and I the way they have, you know, I'm young enough that I can still be able to be there to spend time with my kids and even my grandchild, and not need either one of them to push me in a wheelchair. And that's what I've been trying to avoid for a while. But no, I'm weighing multiple options when it comes to moving. You know, multiple options when it comes to locations, all that. And like I've said, you know, there's a primary, you know, area of the country that I'm mainly looking at on moving to, and all that. But I'm not going to say exactly where I'm moving to, and pretty much until basically I'm already there. And once I'm there, I'm not going to be very open on when it comes down to almost exact location. I'll probably continue to do my vids like I am, like this, or I'm in my home, or out in my yard, or every now and then I might be out and about, but I'm not going to allow too much to be made public for a reason. Because as I told them, I said, once my home is sold, it's goodbye to everybody. There'll be very few people that I will, in essence, take with me in this next phase of life when it comes to people that I will continue to have contact with. Because I'm filtering out a lot of things in my life. I went, you know, after what has been experienced the last several years, what all the damages that have gone on and everything that's happened. You know, my defenses are still up. They're not as bad. I'm still on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster a little bit here. Just thankfully, just not as bad. And I'm already, you know, for most part, I'm sort of already expecting, in essence, more bad shit. Because that's how it usually goes. And so I'm just, what can you do? And so in this place, as I've been saying, it's sold, things will get better. I'm having to make some serious sacrifices in my life, and some real ones. This form of existence can't keep going. You know, even once moved, I'm going to continue to play with Legos. I mean, that's actually helped a lot. It's helped with a lot of refocusing and not allowing my mind to wander into different directions. So, like, in this ramblings and all this, I've bounced into different subjects throughout the whole thing, this whole time, pretty much. With that, I mean, it's been an hour, or something like that. I'd be sitting for 2-3 hours, you know, on, like, say, one of those cars. Like, I'll be right back. So since the last time I really posted a vid, I built, you know, I guess you could say a few more. It's more than 2. And then this bigger one, I'll give you an idea of size too. But these little guys, they take me about 3 hours. And in that time period, my mind's completely able to focus on what I'm doing. I'm able to focus on this and break it away from all this crap that just keeps, you know, from all this shit that I've had to deal with the last several years, especially the last few. And kind of on a daily, reminding myself that I just kind of need to let go of that. You know, as long as I keep seeing the same thing over and over, same habits, the same, you know, basically the same bullshit. It's just gonna. I realize that those things. It's just gonna continue. Those cycles are just gonna keep happening. And so I don't want any. I don't want that. You know, it's like as I sent to someone. It sent to someone. It's like I want somebody that. You know, I don't want somebody that's perfect. I just want somebody that I can be silly with. That I can have fun with. Basically, go on adventures with. Relax at home with, that type of stuff. You know, I want someone that wants to basically be with me as much as possible outside of, you know, obviously given responsibilities, you know, and vice versa. I would hope that the person that I'm with is that same way with me. That if I'm not at work or taking care of responsibilities or anything like that, that I would want to be with them every chance I can. And so it's like all these things have gone on is really like it fucked with my head really bad. It still does. You know, I'm not gonna be the same person at all that ever as to what I was a year ago, 5 years ago. I had to learn some really fucking hard lessons. And I had to build strengths where I normally would not have. And even where I want to give in and, you know, basically stay as some of these others want me to do, or if after I sell, to find something still here somewhere else in Oregon, more up north. I don't know how to kind of necessarily explain it, but I'm at the point I'm trying to kind of following my own heart, my own intuition at this point. I kind of spent most of my life allowing other people to kind of dictate or make choices for me. And so taking the time between being able to go on walks when I can, doing the phototherapy at least once a week, you know, putting something like this together if I can. This one took like closer to 6 hours to build. This is like twice the, yeah, it was like 900 something yeah, 600 and something pieces. It was like 700 pieces almost. These are like 300, 290 something pieces. But they've been able to help a lot on being able to kind of, like I've been saying, be able to refocus. And while doing so, I've been able to allow myself to kind of process things, you know, that I've been dealing with. And, you know, as much as, you know, I realize some people, they don't give a shit. I think treating people the way they do is okay, and that's how you show people you care. And it's like, that's not how you do that. You don't make people feel like they're like you can't wait to be away from them, or you'd just rather be somewhere else when they're around, but then tell them that, you know, but then try to, you know, say sweet nothings to them. It's like, it don't work. That's manipulation. And it's like, I've gotten to a point I'm not allowing that type of shit to really sort of affect my decisions, right, and all that. You know, I've made it clear, and I've said it multiple times, I think, on here already, that I've pretty much already made my decision. And until the home sells, I don't even know necessarily where I'm going. I just know it won't be here in Oregon. I'm allowing, in a way, I'm allowing God to kind of, you know, show me where to go. And right now, yeah, there's a very specific area that I'm looking at, and I'm not talking like city or town. I'm talking like primarily like 3 or 4 states that I've been looking at. until that time comes where I can move. I can't be like, oh yeah, I'm this, that, and the other. When that happens, I'm not saying it. Even on here, a lot of folks, they might, pay attention to the background and all that, and notice things are changing. Because I plan on doing vids, even on my way to wherever I move to. But I'm not gonna. It's gonna be one of those situations that when my home sells, I'm not gonna be very public about it. I mean, I can't necessarily promise that either too, because I know myself enough that I slip. But when it comes down to it, though, and all that, my so long as I just see the same bullshit going on, I just have really no reason to stay. And when I go to leave, and as I said, when the home sells, I'm not really gonna be open about it until I obviously have to be out of the house, and then it's like, well, yeah, the background changed, I'm not where I was living. And then I plan on doing the vids, when I go wherever I'm going. But I'm not even going to say when I move and where I move. Because when I find the right house, the right place, all that stuff, and it feels right to me, then that's what I'm doing. So, I mean, yeah. Anyways, I hope this wasn't taken too much as like a bitch fest type thing. This is more, I'm just rambling, just kind of catching you guys up a little bit too, a little bit, and just kind of, I'm still processing some things in my head and all that, and there's just things I realized that it's like, yeah, you know somebody well enough, been around them long enough to recognize their habits and the things that they're doing. You kind of realize that it's just, everybody has their bad habits, but when those habits are literally affecting you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, everything, and they don't see anything wrong with it, then there's no reason to stick around. Because it's like, no, I'm not going to be one of the balls that you're juggling. And when I'm watching people juggle and say that they're not, I'm not going to be a part of that. It's like, I'm not going to take part of that. So, no, I'm just still going forward in my life, getting things together. I'm trying to get my head together and all that stuff. Moved my projector and screen to that spot of the wall instead of on that wall. It does a little better because there's these black curtain things on the window for there. And when it was over this, the thermostat right there was pushing out enough that you could visually see, of all things, because it was darker there, the light wasn't breaking through that spot. It had better detail. And once you see that little square, it's like, damn it, I can't stop staring at that spot. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I also hope y'all had a good Christmas. And those of you who spent it alone, or didn't get to spend it with a whole lot of people, and it was just maybe you and one other, I still hope you had a good holiday. And I hope all the bullshit that's going on in 2023 and before kind of stays in 2023 and before, so that way next year I hope everybody gets a better start. I can't promise you on the politics of this country or where it's going, but I can tell you still have at least the choice, within your capabilities to still be able to still find your happiness if you're, let alone to enjoy it. So I'll post up again here tomorrow or something, tomorrow or whatever. I might, after I get my bills paid and everything here tomorrow, get all that stuff paid off, I might go and do a little thrifting a little bit tomorrow, because I'm just, yeah, I've got a, well, I've had an eBay account for a while, but I went ahead and, it's like I'm going ahead and starting to flip a few things on there. It's just while thrifting. Main goal is just to go out and see what I can find that I can actually flip and do all right with it. At least, in essence, build a little bit of an inventory. Not a big inventory, but a little bit for while I'm here. So I have something to do while I'm here. Or I should say something more to do. But, again, thanks for watching. Be safe out there. Have a good night. And later. And I hope you enjoy the pics here after this.